I used to drink at a certain pub in Glasgow and go on to a nightclub later. The pub is populated by bikers and other heavy music fans, and this one guy who wore pale blue jeans and iron shirt totally didn't fit in. Now, I'm an antisocial girl, so I would sit in the pub with a book. I liked a pint, music, and having people around. I just didn't like talking. White shirt man kept trying. He would nod at me whenever I looked up, try and buy me a drink when I went to the bar, and several times he sat at my table trying to start a conversation. Apparently saying, "Sorry, not interested," didn't mean anything to him. One night I was really dressed up because I felt like it. Creepy white shirt guy kept trying to catch my eye. When I walked around the nightclub, he followed me, persistently trying to get my attention. While in the club, I gave the bouncer my usual nod greeting. They all knew me. Went to pay to get in, and a white shirt arm popped past me, and he said, "2, we're together." I said, "No, 1 for me, please," and I went in. All night this dickhead followed me. The club has 3 floors and was packed, but this guy would even wait outside the loos if I went in. One friend I left my drink with later admitted to me he put it down on the bar for a while. After a while, I started feeling odd. Very odd. I was dizzy, sweating, shaking. I decided I must be coming down with something and headed home. I don't really remember going down the stairs, but apparently White Shirt followed me. However, the bouncer stopped the creep from getting me out when he tried to say I had too much to drink. I used to run pubs. The bouncer knew I knew my limits and said I wasn't drunk. I was ill. White Shirt guy got pushy, and Dowell, the bouncer, ended up pinning him against the wall. However, during this time I wandered off. One street behind the club is the red light district. No idea how I got there, but I was spotted 3 hours later walking up to the main road by my house. My skirt was ripped. I had no shoes, coat, or bag. A biker friend who was also a cab driver recognized my tattoos from the back and stopped to see if I was okay. He instantly realized I wasn't, got me in his car, and phoned the nearest hospital to say he was bringing me in. 3 days later, I finally make enough sense to find out what happened. My drink was spiked with ketamine, a borderline dangerous dose. The cab driver talked to Dahl, the bouncer, and between them they figured out what happened. The cab driver and his friends tracked down White Shirt creep and gave him a kicking. Then the railway lads heard, and they gave him a kicking. He was barred from the club and bar. It was an awful long time before I went out again, though. This won't be as creepy as most of the stories here, but it's just something that completely horrified me to the core when it happened. Back in my late teens in Dublin, Ireland, I used to head to a particular nightclub every single week and got to know most of the regulars there, to the point that I would sit at any table and know at least a few people. One night, I was introduced to a new woman that no one really knew very well, and I said hello, in a very short and polite conversation, and then went about my time as normal, dancing and drinking. Nothing much of note happened during my time in the club. At the end of the night, I left a little earlier than my friends because I lived really far outside the city. I got a taxi home and got into bed, falling into a deep sleep. I woke up in the morning, sunlight streaming into the room, and immediately knew something was wrong. Too much weight on the bed. I spun and looked down to the end of the room, and there sat at the end of the bed was the woman from the night before, staring at me wide-eyed with utter devotion and a weird smile. It was totally fucking horrible. I had no idea what to say, so I said nothing. I was so weirded out by her expression and the whole bizarre nature of the situation. I was dumbstruck. It wasn't a lustful look. It was spooky, obsessive, insane looking. I know for a lot of guys the idea of having some random woman appear in their bedroom might be a thrill, but this was nothing like that. It was scary, plain and simple. I got up, got dressed, summoned up a little bit of courage, turned to her and said, "You're leaving. Now," and essentially marched her out of the house, telling her that buses leave from the end of the road every half hour. She left without saying anything. From talking to friends and family, I pieced together what happened. After I left the nightclub, she had tried to catch me up, but instead lost me. She went back, asked around, until someone told her the rough area I lived in. Got a taxi there, knocked on random doors, waking up neighbors, and eventually one told her exactly where I lived, and then lied to my sister, saying that I had been expecting her. My sister was pissed off at being woken up, but let her in. From there, she got to my room and sat there for God knows how long, silently watching me. As it turns out, almost nobody from the club knew her at all, but we had all assumed that someone else must know her. What really spooks me is that if she had wanted to hurt me for whatever reason, she easily found her way right into my family house, right into my bedroom. Ugh, I'm shuddering thinking about it. This takes place in a fairly large city, roughly 8 or so years ago. I'm female, and at the time I was in my mid-20s. There used to be a gay bar that did golf nights every Saturday night, and I would head out there fairly often with my friends. This night, there was a group of about 5 of us that went together. Plus, we always ran into more people we knew once we got there. At some point, I left my friends on the dance floor and went up to the bar to get another drink. It was pretty crowded, so the only place I could squeeze into was next to some guy on the bar stool at the very end of the counter. I ordered my drink, and he looked over and said hello. He had a pretty interesting accent, so I asked him where he was from. He replied he was originally from Ethiopia. We made small talk as I was waiting for my drink, and I commented that I had a neighbor as a child that was from Ethiopia as well. The exact details of the conversation are a bit hazy. It was years ago after all, and to be fair, I wasn't paying super close attention at the time. So I'm not quite sure how the conversation went in this direction, but I do remember his words snapping my brain's focus back onto him. I killed people there. Oh, well, I awkwardly chuckled, thinking maybe this was just some weird drunk guy, thinking he would say weird, creepy things to the golf girl at the bar. Maybe it was his really bad attempt at flirting. My drink arrived, and I remember stirring it and trying to ease my way out of the conversation, but I was still waiting for my change. "You used to kill people?" He shook his head and replied casually, "No, I still do." My change could not arrive fast enough. I tried another awkward laugh and made some snarky comment about how I was fat, and if he tried to kill me, I'd fight back and sit on him. I don't know. I mean, I had no idea what to say in this situation. Again, casually, without any emotion in his voice, he replied, "There's no trying. If I decide to kill someone, I kill him." My change finally arrived, and I took my drink, which I had not let leave my hand or line of sight for an instant, excused myself, and headed back over to my friends on the dance floor. I watched as he turned on the stool so he could keep an eye out on me. He just sat there, sipping his own drink, never looking away. Finally, at some point, I saw him put down his empty glass and move out the front door. I sighed in relief and continued on to enjoy my night, Several hours later, the golf night was ending, and next themed DJ was taking over. My friends and I were saying our goodbyes, and I started walking to the front door. I turned around to see the friend that had given me a ride was stuck in a conversation with another acquaintance, so I waited near the door, just inside the building. That's when he grabbed me. The guy from the bar dragged me in further, into a dark corner out of line of the exit. I was in shock and couldn't make a sound at first as he pinned me to the wall, face pressed up against it, and he twisted one of my arms behind my back. It seemed like an eternity he held me there, pushing himself firmly up against me, almost like he was trying to hide me in even more shadows. There were no lights near us, and no reason for anyone to walk by this corner. Even if I yelled, I wasn't sure if anyone could hear me since the DJ had started up. Somehow, I managed to shove myself back against him once my fight instincts kicked in. In his surprise, his grip loosened just a bit, and the angle he held me at relaxed, and I managed to shove my fist against his balls. I have no idea to this day how I actually bent myself around in just the right way, but he doubled over and I ran. I grabbed my friend out of her conversation and breathlessly gave a Cliff Notes version of what happened as I dragged her to the back emergency exit. Before I could escape, I was stopped by security. He told me I couldn't go that way and had to leave to the front of the bar. I tried to explain to him that there was a guy up there that had tried to attack me, but he wouldn't listen, or just tuned it out. I thought I was just some drunk girl. Thankfully, my friend and I managed to get the attention of a few other people we knew, and we headed out the front as a group. I didn't see the guy anywhere, but I was terrified of getting through the dark parking lot to the car. I just knew he could be out there hiding somewhere. My friend and I ran as fast as we could, dove into the car, and she pulled out a parking space before I could even get my seatbelt on. Creeper dude was nowhere to be seen. I checked the news the next day to see if there had been any other attacks, or, God forbid, murders in the area, but there was nothing. I don't really remember much of his features, or what he was wearing, or how he sounded, but I will never forget the emotionless, blank, matter-of-fact way he stated that he killed people, and the way his dark eyes stared at me like I was prey. I never went back to that bar.